first thing is, what is a security operations center? Security operations center is basically a centralized function within an organization that employs people and processes and technology to continuously monitor and improve an organization's security posture. So what this function does is that it hires people and can use different technology and processes in order to improve organization security. And in order to do so, what it does is it does preventing, detecting, analyzing, and in case if any security incident is occurred, it responds to those security incidents. So it basically houses all the primary core of our business security operations. Security operation, basically the continuous monitoring of a network, detection management, and incident response. So what is a SOC? It is a function in an organization that with the help of some people, processes, and technology is continuously monitoring our network. And why is it monitoring the network? In order to improve it and prevent it against any threat or vulnerability. And if there is any vulnerability detected, then we have to patch that. And in case of any attack or security incident, we have to respond according to the design policy. This is the purpose of Security Operations Center. When we learn the concept, Security Operations Center, the first thing comes in our mind is that basically there must be a department, or there is a department inside an organization that will be doing all these tasks, that these people will be using some processes and technology. So that is right, but there is another option that we can use virtual SOCs as well. So how virtual SOC work? Like software as a service. We can contact with other companies providing these services, and then we can use these SOC services for our organization. And now, as our IT application and services are working 24/7, so obviously we need to protect these services 24/7. And so basically SOCs are available 24/7, and in order to maintain this detection of vulnerability and threat, basically there are different shifts for team. One team work in one shift and the other one work in other shift, so that there is no vulnerability left from detected. So the primary purpose of SOC is to be the neurocenter of the organization's security. It basically detects and keep track of organization security and detect in case of any threat or vulnerability in the system. So is the concept of SOC clear? That what is SOC? So if it's clear, then we will move to the functionality of SOC. That it's basically a function in an... Okay, that's great. So this was the basic concept of SOC, that what is SOC. Now we will see what are the key functions or responsibility of SOC. What SOC does is basically it performs prevention, detection, and protection for our network. So for prevention, it has to they have to do some research and development, and they have to train their staff and incorporate threat intelligence in their system. And for protection, they have to do threat hunting, system monitoring, and also enforce backup and recovery in their system, that in case of any attack occurs. So they also have backup of their system, and they do the detection of any attack if it occurs, and they give the report and auditing of that whole scenario, and can support the ticketing or the, in case of any incident, if they have to give alert or inform the respective personnel. So they have to generate tickets and also do the vulnerability assessment. This was the basic overview of the responsibilities of SOC. So now we will see in detail the responsibilities of SOC. The first one is take stock of available resources. So first of all, SOC should know that what are the resources present in organization. Okay, from SOC perspective, there are two types of assets in an organization. One is one are the asset which SOC has to protect, and the other are those which it will be using processes or tools which it will be using to protect the organization assets or the first kind of assets. So it basically protect the what in-house of the processes.
Sorry, Nazar.
Yes.
Can you repeat the two types of asset from SOC
Okay.
perspective?
One are the assets that SOC has to protect. The processes or the technologies or the information inside an organization. One, which SOC has to protect, and the other tools and technologies that SOC will be using to protect those assets. The first kind. So from SOC perspective, there are two types of resources. So SOC will be using the second type to protect the first one. So what the SOC protects? So SOC should know what in-house of your business. If it will know these things, then it will be able to protect your business or your organization. Because if you know something, then you will be able to protect it. If you don't know it, then obviously you will not be able to protect it. So the SOC cannot safeguard devices and the data they can't see. Without visibility and control from device, there are likely to be blind spot in the network posture that can be found and exploited. So the first thing is that SOC should know all the devices and information that is present in the organization so that it will be able to analyze that how things are working inside an organization. And so its aim is to gain a complete view of the business, including not only the various types of endpoint servers and software on premises, but also third-party services and traffic flowing between the assets. So if there are any cloud services that you are using, any information, any asset you're using, SOC must know about all these things so that it can protect these. So it should also know how the processes are working inside an organization. And it should know it should know all the cybersecurity tools on hand and all workflows in use within the SOC. This increases agility and allows SOC to run at peak efficiency. So the first thing is SOC should know all the assets inside an organization. The next one is preparation and preventive maintenance. So first, you have to inform, or the SOC should know all the assets of the organization. And once these assets are clear, then it has to work on the preparation and preventive measure for those assets. So preparation, the team members should stay informed on the newest security innovations and the latest trend in cybercrime and the development of new threat on the horizon. This will provide direction for the company's cybersecurity effort going forward and a disaster recovery plan that will serve as guidance in a worst case scenario. So preparation for the preventive maintenance. So in order to implement SOC, first your knowledge should be updated and you should know all the recent cybersecurity attacks or innovations that are now that are now taking place. So if you'll know all these things, so it will be easy for you to create preventive measure according to it. And then you can generate the preventive measures for asset accordingly. These steps include all actions taken in order to make successful attack more difficult, including regularly maintenance and updating existing systems, firewall policies, patching vulnerabilities, whitelisting, blacklisting, and securing application. So once you know that what kind of attacks can take place on these assets, then you will do the preventive measure to protect your assets against those attacks by doing the preventive measures that include the maintenance, updation of policies and softwares, and if in case you find any vulnerability in your system, you have to patch that, and you have to blacklist and whitelist certain applications. So this will make an attack more difficult to be executed on your organization. And that was the second rule or the key factor of SOC. And the third point is continuous proactive monitoring. So you know the assets and you have designed the preventive measures for those assets. Now you have to observe your assets and your organization process 24/7 in order to find any incident or any attack or vulnerability that is present in your system. So tools used by SOC scan, the tools which are used by SOC scans the network 24/7 in order to find out any abnormality or suspicious activity. So obviously these employees or the persons inside the SOC team, what they do is that they use certain tools to scan the network. Obviously, there are automated tools that also perform these scanning as well. So monitoring the network around the clock allows the SOC to be notified immediately of emerging threats, and giving them the best chance to prevent or mitigate harm. And some common kind of monitoring tool that it uses are SIEM and SOAR, and the most advanced of which can use behavioral analysis. Okay, the behavior one is rule-based and the one is behavioral analysis to teach system and the difference between regular day-to-day operation and actual threat behavior. So the advanced form of monitoring tool uses behavioral analysis. What it is that you tell the machine that this is the normal behavior, and if anything deviate from that behavior, then you have to give an alert. So you have to train the machine, or it can be certain kind of rules or certain normal pattern that you have concluded from your system. You have to train that machine accordingly. And in case of any alert or deviation from that normal behavior, that machine should generate an alert, and then you can see that whether it's a false positive or a real threat. And if it's a false positive, obviously we'll ignore, and if it's a real threat, then you'll have to take an action against it. And so it will minimize the amount of triage and analysis that must be done by humans. So that can also be done by humans, but obviously when we will use automated tool, that will facilitate them and obviously minimize the amount of work done by human. That was the third point. So the things are yes, sure.
Yeah, one question here.
Yes.
So when we teach the machine, as you said, this will be through SIEM, right?
Yes.
Like such use cases.
Yes, we have to. Yes, we have to tell SIEM that these are the normal behavior or the normal rules, and then in case of any deviation, it will tell us that no, this is not normal. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So after that, the next point is alert ranking and management. So when the alerts are generated from these systems, we have to check that whether these alerts are false positive or real attack. And then obviously there can be so many alerts at a time. So now you have to prioritize the alerts, that which alert or attack should be handled in priority and which one should be taken at end. So the next task of SIEM is to rank the alert. When monitoring tool issue alerts, It is the responsibility of SOC to look closely at each one, discard any false positive, and determine how aggressive any actual threats are and what they could be triggering. This allows them to triage emerging threat appropriately and handling the most urgent issues first. So it will also, the alerting will obviously, when we will rank the alerting, it will help us in dealing the sensitive issues first. Instead, if we'll go on the basis of numbering, that if we reach an alert at first, but it's not that serious. So instead of handling that one, we'll go for the one that is more sensitive and serious. So this can be done by doing alert ranking. Then the next one is threat response. As soon as an incident is confirmed that it's not a false positive, the SOC act as first responder, performing actions like shutting down or isolating endpoint, terminating harmful processes, or preventing them from executing, deleting files, and more. So if that incident is confirmed, you have to immediately take the actions in case of that attack, that what should be done in order to prevent further damage to the organization. And the goal is to respond to the extent necessary while having as small as impact on the business continuity plan. Obviously, one way is that if there's an attack on your website, you'll stop your website or you stop your server. Obviously, you don't have to do that. You'll have to also keep in mind the business continuity in your mind. And keeping this in mind, you have to take the actions in case of threat. Recovery and remediation. The SOC will work to restore system and recover any lost or compromised data. So if an attack has occurred and if there is anything that is shifted from the normal, then you have to restore and recover it to the normal state. And for that, the backups were needed. If there was any present backup, then you can use that backup to bring your organization to that original state. This may include wiping and restarting endpoint, reconfiguring system, or in the case of ransomware attack, deploying wipeable backup in order to circumvent the ransomware. In case if your information is gone, obviously you can use backup. When successful, this step will return the network to the state it was in prior to the incident. So after recovery and remediation, the system will go back to its original state. Then after that, an attack occurred, you get the alert, you acted accordingly and bring the system back to its original position. Now the next step is log management. Now the SOC is also responsible for collecting, maintaining, and regularly reviewing the log of all network activity and communicate for the organization. You have to collect the log and maintain it and regularly review it, and you have to transmit the information to the required department as well. The data help define a baseline for normal network activity and can reveal the existence of threat. So when you will collect data, you can, obviously you're also finding the pattern of normal behavior. So it will also help you in identifying the deviation from those normal pattern. And it can be used for remediation and forensics in the aftermath of an incident. So there might be a case in which you didn't know that something suspicious was happening, but you got to know after that attack was happened. So in order to do the forensic analysis, that what was the reason or why was it happened, where it started, you might need these logs and information in order to find out the main reason of that attack. So many SOC use a SIEM to aggregate and correlate the data feeds from application, firewall, operating systems, and endpoint, all of which produce their own internal data. So obviously, in case of SOC, we need information from all the assets and applications, and we have to correlate it in order to find out the bigger picture, that how are things working. So this correlation and aggregation can be performed using SIEM. The logs are maintained. Now the next thing is root cause investigation. The SOC is responsible for figuring out exactly what happened, when, how, and why. So you have to find out the exact detail of the incident using this all information that SOC is storing. And during this information, the SOC uses log data and other information to trace the problem to its source, which will help them prevent similar problem from occurring in the future. So once you will find out the issue, then obviously you will then protect your system against that vulnerability and threat or happening that attack again. Then the next step is security refinement and improvement. The root cause is identified. Now you have to patch your system against vulnerability and weakness. Cyber criminals are constantly refining their tools and tactics, and in order to stay ahead of them, the SOC needs to implement improvements on a continuous basis. As the attack side is improving, we also have to, you must have heard about red team and blue team. So if the red team is working more, so obviously in order to protect the system, the blue team also has to do more effort. So as the attacks are advancing, we'll have to do more effort in order to protect our organization. During this step, the plan outlined in the security roadmap come to line. So there must be some defined policy or rules of an organization. So we can use that in order to implement the strategy. So it also include hands-on practices such as red teaming and purple teaming, and we can test our system using red teaming, blue teaming, and purple teaming thing in order to check that how secure our system is. I guess a red teaming and blue teaming concept must be known to everyone. So the next is compliance management. The SOC also helps us in getting compliant with different standards like ISO 27000, GDPR. So it is responsible for regularly auditing their system to ensure compliance with regulation, which may be issued by their organization or the industries or governing bodies. And the example of these regulations are GDPR, HIPAA, PCI DSS, and acting in accordance with these regulations not only helps safeguard the sensitive data that the company has been inserted with, it can also shield the organization from reputational damage and legal challenges resulting from a breach. So if you're protecting your current information, so obviously your company's reputation will be good, and obviously you don't have to face any adverse impact that happens as a result of any breach. These were the roles